I want to introduce you to a few courses and the course sequence that I think makes the most sense for people who are trying to improve their ear. But first, I want to talk just a little bit about why I created all these courses. So, while I was creating the Flawless Ear Training course, I realized it wasn't suited for those unfamiliar with reading music. The Staff Speaks is the first course really in my series, even though it wasn't the first one I created. But this one here, it addresses this gap of not being able to read music, and it makes the Flawless course more accessible and less stressful. So the Staff Speaks is the course that I recommend for anybody that's having any difficulty with the Flawless Ear Training course. The Flawless Ear Training course really is geared towards that student who is maybe graduated from college and hasn't yet fully developed the ear they want, or the student about to go into college. But in all cases, a Flawless Ear Training course is really going to work best for people that can already read music. So that's where the Staff Speaks comes in, because it fills that in. But the Staff Speaks is actually much more than that, which I'm going to get into. So here's an overview of the recommended course progression. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But if you look at these first three courses here, you've got the Staff Speaks, Flawless Ear, and Hanon-inspired musicianship exercises. So these are kind of my entry points. You could start on any one of these and then continue into audiation, followed by counterpoint, followed by form and analysis. So audiation is required for counterpoint. Counterpoint is required for form and analysis. So these three courses on the right-hand side, they lead into each other. These three here, though, they can be entry points. So you could start at the Staff Speaks, Flawless Ear, or the Hanon-inspired exercises, or you could do all three of them at the same time. Now, the nice thing about it is the Staff Speaks is only, the majority of the drills are about 10 minutes long, so you can complete it in 10 minutes a day. Flawless Ear Training is between 30 and 45 minutes a day, so if you did both together, you're getting closer to an hour. Then the Hanon-inspired exercises could be done at some other point throughout the day, or maybe on a weekend when you don't want to do Flawless Ear, or you just need a break from the Flawless Ear Training course. And I give recommendations in the Hanon-inspired course for how to actually match it up with the Flawless Ear Training course. You can download a PDF that shows you how Hanon-inspired works with Flawless Ear Training. So you kind of have to decide, where do you feel like you need to start. You can try the Flawless Ear Training course first, and then if that doesn't work, go back to the Staff Speaks. And here's the thing about the Staff Speaks, which I'm going to encourage everybody to take. And here's the reason why. The Staff Speaks is actually a 60-volume series that I'm creating. And what it does is it's effectively like having me come to your house every day and giving you an exercise to complete for about 10 minutes, and then I leave. I'll either give you some information to absorb, to think about, or I'll give you an exercise to complete, and you only complete one lesson per day. There are currently 105 lessons in here, and that's the entire course. So if you go through the Staff Speaks, it's going to be 105 days from start to finish. There's nothing like in the Flawless Ear Training course where you have to go through exercises again and again until you master them. Staff Speaks doesn't work that way. It's more about teaching you to read music, but it also lays a foundation for you to better hear what we're doing in the Flawless Ear Training course, because in the Staff Speaks, we deal with individual notes and note naming. And we also talk about things like inharmonicity, not enharmonics. That's a different word. We talk about the development of the staff system. We talk about notes. It's a deep dive into these elementary concepts of pitch. And so it will benefit all musicians. I think that most musicians would benefit from the time spent on the Staff Speaks, since it's only a 10-minute investment per day, and it leads into a much greater series. It takes you essentially through an entire undergraduate and graduate course in music theory and ear training, and to a large degree composition as well. So all this stuff works together. Now, let's talk a little bit about each book. So the Staff Speaks, this is a book that I recommend beginners start with, or those who feel like they may have some gaps in their education. This book here, this series, will fill in those gaps. I guarantee you're going to be able to fill in these gaps. The only exception would be if you're not interested in primarily Western tonal music. If you're doing microtonal music or something like that, this course will still help you. But if you play a completely different style of music that's not based in Western music, then this won't be a complete course. It'll still help you with whatever you're doing. It'll still be beneficial, but it won't necessarily be a complete course. Like if you're doing Indian ragas or something like that, or Middle Eastern music, it doesn't touch on that. It has a Western slant, so just keep that in mind. But this is a book that I recommend beginners start with, or people who are trying to fill in some gaps start with. And typically I'd recommend, if you don't know how to read music, then you should definitely take this course first. That goes into the Flawless Ear Training course, which is available in both audio and video formats. They complement each other. They are two different courses, but they focus on the same concepts in each lesson. The audio version is recommended if you only choose one. If you get the audio version on Udemy, of course, you'll get the first level along with the video, so they come together. The audio version is recommended if you choose only one, but alternating between formats offers a variety of supplementary exercises. You can also add the Hannon-inspired musicianship exercises to the routine daily or on days when you have extra time. The Hannon-inspired exercises can also be used to maintain your ear on days when you have less time. So once you've completed these three, and you really only need to complete Unit 1 of Flawless Ear Training to go into audiation. So think of it this way. The Staff Speaks, Hannon-inspired, they both lead into Flawless, so everybody should take Flawless. And then they take you into the Audiation Masterclass series. So after completing Unit 1 of the Flawless course, you start the Audiation course to enhance your internal hearing in music. Continue with Unit 2 and higher of the Flawless course at the same time that you're taking Audiation, and you should be good. Once you finish Audiation, you move on to Counterpoint, because this course builds on Audiation, teaching you to compose more effectively through practical counterpoint exercises. And then finally, we go on to Form and Analysis. This is a final public course, and it focuses on various musical forms and composition techniques. Now, if you've completed all this, or if you feel like you want some study in composition as well, I also offer private music composition lessons, which you can apply for on my website at UreMusic.com. That's UreMusic.com. And the lessons are actually quite affordable. I'm not doing this thing where a lot of people are doing this lately, where they're like $5,000 for a 3-month course. I'm not doing that. I'm actually meeting with you privately. But if you take composition lessons, then you automatically get enrolled in courses that fit your current level. So I could put you in the Staff Speaks, Flawless Ear, Hannon-inspired. I could do all three, and Audiation. It really depends on what I think you need, because the reason I created these courses to begin with was for my composers. And while I was teaching at the university, I was just creating all these materials, and I always created them with the idea that one day I might not be working at the university. And if that ever happened, I was going to turn everything into a course, kind of share my knowledge that way. So these courses are a combination of years. I mean, I'm talking almost a decade of working with over 1,400 enrolled students, and teaching over 76 classes. I have a lot of experience, and so I know the sequence that's necessary to help people improve. And while I'm talking about this, I think I'll just say one more thing about the Flawless course especially, and the Audiation course. There are going to be moments in the course where a lesson is extremely difficult, and I understand that. It's intentionally put into the course that way. But what you'll find is the lessons will then get easier. So if you have a really difficult lesson, just if it's really bothering you and you just want to move on, try and spend at least a week on any difficult lesson and just make a note. Okay, lesson 4 was difficult for me. Keep a notebook of the lessons that you had a lot of trouble with and that you couldn't pass after a week. I recommend going for 3 weeks, but if you can't make it 3, just do a week and then go on to the next lesson. Because the thing about the Flawless course is everything builds on itself. So if you have trouble with one particular lesson, that's okay. You go on to the next one, you're still working on the same basic skills. And then by the time you get to the end of the course, right before the final exam, you take your list and you go back and you say, okay, I had trouble with lesson 4, 12, and 21. I'm now going to attempt those again for a couple days, see if I can do better, and then I can take the final exam. So don't worry too much about the extremely difficult lessons. You can always skip, mark them as incomplete, or however you want to do it, and then come back to them before you take the final exam for Unit 1. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. I hope this kind of shows you how this all works. Very briefly, just to summarize, the courses on the left are introductory courses. They're my entry-level courses. Once you complete flawless ear training, though, you can go on to audiation. Just Unit 1 is all you have to complete. You need at least Unit 1 to go on to audiation. If you're having trouble with flawless, try the Staff Speaks. It's a fun, easy course, less than 10 minutes a day. I guide you through every single exercise, much like in the flawless course. And if you feel like you have a little extra time each week, or you can spend up to an hour and a half. I normally recommend 45 minutes a day for ear training. But the nice thing about Hanon-inspired exercises is they become passive exercises, which means you can do more ear training in a day. So you can work on all three of these simultaneously. But the way I recommend it, if you're going to do this, Staff Speaks every single day. Don't take days off. Flawless ear, 3 to 4 times a week. Hanon-inspired, 2 to 3. So if you're really pressed for time but you want to do all three, then divide your time between flawless and Hanon-inspired. Maybe do a flawless ear training exercise on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Hanon-inspired on Tuesday, and maybe Thursday. And that could be a good way for you to do this. So if you have any other questions, please let me know, and I wish you the best of luck on your courses.